Well, hey, ladies and gentlemen, it's me, Jermaine, and I'm back again with another Simple Truth update. I just have to ask you, ladies and gentlemen, and especially my subscribers and viewers from the Florida area, what the heck is going on down there? Well, where people think that because they have the ability to have gun ownership, that when they get the least bit disturbed, frightened, or even scared, they can just start to ripping off shots like there's no tomorrow. We have yet another situation that is very, very eerily similar to the Trayvon Martin case, where a white individual was being accosted or even harassed, or maybe even some obnoxious behavior by some black teenagers, and then all of a sudden the white assailant begins shooting and we have another death. I just don't understand it, ladies and gentlemen. It's something that is really, really scary, to be honest. It's scary that people don't know how to properly utilize gun ownership. And I'm not going to say that for everyone, but I just mean maybe in the state of Florida, tensions are a little too high for people who own guns. See, the old saying is true. It's not guns that kill people. It's people with guns that kill people, especially those that do not have a maybe clear head when they are in possession of said firearm. Now, I want it to be known, and I don't want it to be confused. I am not in any way against the Second Amendment and gun ownership, but I am against those that have a gun and are hot-headed or are not reasonable or balanced in their thinking, and they just go haphazardly just shooting. I want to read this article to you, and then I'll be right back. Only in Florida. This article comes from blackamericaweb.com, Tuesday, November 27th, 2012. Only in Florida could a guy like Michael Dunn believe he can get away with killing an unarmed black teenager by saying he was scared. George Zimmerman, after all, almost did. Dunn, 45, was in Jacksonville last Friday when he and his girlfriend stopped at a gas station after his son's wedding to purchase a bottle of wine. According to the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, he began arguing with some black youths in an SUV over their loud music. Dunn wound up firing 8 or 9 rounds into the vehicle. 2 struck 17-year-old Jordan Davis and killed him. But rather than wait to tell the police what threat these kids posed, aside from being black and profane and blasting their car stereo, to compel him to go for his gun, Dunn and his woman hopped back into his car. The next day, they drove all the way back south, in fact, to his home in Satellite Beach, Florida, where Brevard County Sheriff's officers found and arrested him. He has since pleaded not guilty to murder and attempted murder charges. His lawyer, Robin Lemonitis, told CNN that Dunn said he shot at the youths after seeing a gun barrel in their car window and after they cursed him out. Jacksonville police, however, said there were no guns found in the teenager's vehicle. And other facts that have been revealed so far don't exactly paint Dunn as a paragon of responsibility, as his lawyer claims he is. First of all, it was irresponsible for Dunn to get into an argument with teenagers he didn't know when he was only going to be at the gas station briefly. It was also irresponsible for Dunn to sit in his car and shoot at a bunch of kids. Even if they had a gun, it would have been unwise to provoke a shootout in a public place and endanger even more lives. And if Dunn truly embraced responsibility, he wouldn't have fled the scene. He would have called the police and his lawyer. Yet, I expect more people in this state to overreact this way, especially when it comes to black males. That's because despite the slaying of 17-year-old Trayvon Martin earlier this year, when Zimmerman, a self-appointed community patroller in Sanford, Florida, provoked an altercation with the unarmed Martin by stalking him because he wore a hoodie, virtually nothing has been done toward revising the Stand Your Ground law that allows people to kill first and claim self-defense later. Later, as when the slain person can't tell his or her side of the story. After Martin's slaying generated marches and a national uproar, Governor Rick Scott appointed a task force to review the law. While the Republican-dominated commission made some minor recommendations, such as changing the law to discourage community watch volunteers from taking the law into their own hands, it made few major recommendations, instead leaving it to the state legislature to make the tough decisions. I don't expect much will happen there, as lawmakers in this state are mostly Republican and mostly owned by the National Rifle Association, which backs the law as it is. And under the law right now, people can be immune from prosecution for using deadly force if they reasonably believe their life is in danger. Problem is, when it comes to black males, people like Zimmerman, who is now awaiting trial on second-degree murder charges, and Dunn, from whom stand your ground is a likely defense strategy, tend to act irrationally, not responsibly. They believe that they can follow black males because they don't like what they're wearing, or start arguments with them because they don't like their music, and when those youths respond with hostility or immaturity, they want to claim they feel threatened. Then they feel they ought to be able to shoot and kill them. The details will continue to trickle in over Davis's slaying during the coming days, but the fact that this guy, Dunn, believes he was justified in shooting at these unarmed black youths 8 or 9 times already leads me to doubt that he wasn't responding to a real threat as much as he was overreacting to teenage obnoxiousness. Sadly enough, in Florida, the law makes it easy for people to not have to distinguish between the two.
New information on a developing story tonight. We are hearing from the family of the man accused of shooting and killing that unarmed teenager Friday night. But first, the family of the 17-year-old Wolfson High School student gunned down in the parking lot of a Southside gas station plans to start a foundation in his memory. According to the funeral home's website, Jordan Davis's family is going to create a foundation for at-risk students who suffer from tragedies. Police say Davis and his friends had left the town center on Black Friday and around 7:40 stopped at the Gate gas station at Southside and Bay Meadows. He was in the back seat of a red SUV with his friends, and police say the man parked next to them got into a confrontation with them over their loud music. Police say Dunn fired 8 or 9 shots at the SUV, striking Davis several times before driving off.
I mean, he was a collector of guns. Supposedly, information obtained from Brevard County that he was a collector and shot at local gun ranges down there.
Dunn's attorney says Dunn's girlfriend, Ronna Rauer, who is not facing any charges, had run into the gas station to get a bottle of wine when the shots were fired. They had just left Dunn's son's wedding reception when they stopped at that gas station. Dunn was arrested the next morning in Brevard County. As Jordan Davis's family prepares to lay him to rest, the man charged with his murder is awaiting extradition back to Jacksonville. And tonight, Michael Dunn's daughter is sharing new information about her father. Heather Crawford joining us live on the South Side with the latest on tonight's top story. Heather.
Joy, this is the parking lot where Jordan Davis was shot several times as he sat unarmed in the back seat of an SUV, according to police. And as you mentioned, investigators think it all started over the suspect being upset over loud music coming from that SUV. But tonight, the suspect's daughter paints a much different picture of her father and says that he is not a murderer.
Appearing before a judge in Brevard County, 45-year-old Michael Dunn pleaded not guilty Monday to murder and attempted murder charges. He's being held without bond and is expected to be moved to Jacksonville within 72 hours. Dunn's attorney says he acted in self-defense, and according to her, the truth has not yet been made public.
I'm saying that he acted responsibly, as any responsible firearms owner would act.
Dunn's 20-year-old daughter, Rebecca, says she went numb when she got a phone call from her uncle explaining what had happened. And she says her heart goes out to Jordan Davis's family.
He got threatened, and he had to do what he had to do. And I mean, it's sad. It's so sad. It's a terrible tragedy on both sides. It really is. But, I mean, I don't know what he could do in that situation. You don't know what you're going to do. He just reacted.
Sunday, our camera captured his family and friends praying at his home in Satellite Beach. Rebecca says her family is rallying behind her dad.
I just want him to know that he's a good person, you know? He's a good father. Everyone that's in his life loves him, and everyone that met him as my friends are all praying for him. So that shows you that he's a good person, you know? He's super, super smart, you know? He does computer software and all this stuff, like, and he's so funny and nice and outgoing, and, like, he loves life.
Rebecca shared these photos with us and says her father loves boating, riding motorcycles, and flying airplanes. First Coast News has learned that in 2007, when he was on his way back to Jacksonville, he claimed he accidentally veered into restricted airspace at the Kennedy Space Center. That brought out federal officials and bomb-sniffing dogs who thought the wayward plane might have been an act of terrorism. Dunn was never charged.
And again, Michael Dunn is being held behind bars tonight in Brevard County without bond. As for Jordan Davis, his visitation has been set for this Wednesday from 4 to 7 p.m. at Hardage Giddens Funeral Home of Mandarin. Another visitation is planned for Friday in Marietta, Georgia, and his funeral is set for Saturday at noon in Powder Springs, Georgia. And you can count on First Coast News to stay on top of this story on air and online. Live tonight on the South Side, Heather Crawford, First Coast News.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the simple truth of the whole matter is simply this. If a person is going to possess and own a gun, they need to have a clear head so that things like this do not come about because of fear and scared and just overall misuse of gun ownership. This has been the simple truth, and as I always tell you, it's the simple things that are the most profound, but yet they're the most difficult to put into practice and to actually do. I'll see you and you again real soon, and I want to thank you for joining me.